Hello. I'm going to turn down this light just a little bit. I can't really see what I'm doing. All right. Whew. No, I really can't see anything. Am I invited to the party? Thank you, Sheridan. Oh, wow. I'm just seeing stars now after looking directly into that ring light. I'm excited for this too. I tested this out earlier today to make sure we weren't going to have the same problems we had with the lives last week with BAP and Babap. If you're a patron, you may know, had the same problems. So I checked that today, made sure everything was good to go, and then notifications just don't go out. So it's mostly patrons here, probably a few people from Twitter. You love my hair? Thank you, Sheridan. Also, Slano, my goodness. Slano, your name's Shelby. I remember you. I'm starting to see people that I feel like I haven't seen in a long time. It's like you guys are coming back to me. Oh, and that's such a good theme for what this is going to be about. I'm just rambling a little bit to give hoping that the notifications will be pushed out, but I don't know, dude. Leaf. If it's too similar to schoolwork, then you're excused. Jane's a subscriber, but happy to be here. Well, thank you, Jane. Peace and light to you, Leash. You look absolutely stunning. Thank you, Jared. Oh my gosh, you guys are being super sweet. And Erica, jealous of you if this is what your hair looks like, because this is full on, obviously, full on like extension city. And some teasing at the top, and finally getting with the what did Jesse Smile say that one time? Gen Z bullied me into center part. Can we talk about that for a second? You know how all those there are all those TikToks. I have a hair in my mouth that are like, show me any person, show me one single person that looks better with a side part than a center part. And I try it like almost every day with my short hair, parting down the center, and then looking at myself, and I'm like, that's not cute. It's really not cute. Hi, my name is Vasya. Welcome, Vasya. You got the notification live, just FYI. Oh, yay, it's working. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Woohoo. Oh, also, if you're new here, we drink water anytime somebody #watergangs the chat. Do you guys know the backstory of that? Because I remember there was this person who who mocked me and my community drinking water during these lives. If you search the your GIF keyboard for the term helloleesh, you'll see it pop up. It's like the first one. But the reason we do it is because we had a patron at the very beginning of all this, and we would do little Patreon live streams and have a good time. And towards the very end, this one patron, she was a teenage girl. She was like 16 or 17. If it was the end of a live or she was getting ready to head out, she would always tell us to drink our water. And we thought it was the cutest thing. We were like, so I don't think it matters. There are plenty of people with this name, but we were like, Libby, why do you say that all the time? And she said, well, where I'm from, that's how you tell people you love them, by telling them that they should make sure to drink water. And that's so cute. I love it. I do love a center part. Like, if my hair were this long, love it. My goal, even though I cut my hair in 2020 and it's still short. Granted, I have to trim up the back as the front grows out so that I can kind of even it all out. But my goal is to one day, maybe when I'm old, have long, like 70s hair, just like super long, sometimes styled, sometimes straight, center part. Just, that's the dream. NJ's glad I'm back. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, Mindy, I still think I'm gonna have to come visit you at your, amusement park because I still want those mugs. I thought about it and I just it's not the same to order keychains from some site and have them come it's gotta be Dutch Wonderland. I hope I didn't dox you. Um, Mindy, please let me know if you're okay if that's okay or if not okay. I didn't really think there's 70 people here. There's more than that in the Patreon. Like Share's a good example, but really just a lot of people that I see in maybe not as long as Cher's hair, but just like what I see in a lot of photos from the 70s. Mindy, we cool? We cool? Hey, Blue! I chug 3 liters of water a day. It's my one good habit. Yeah, I've gotten into the habit of it, and it's been wonderful. Good for you. That's a lot of water. Um, Long 70s hair look is timeless. It sure is. Like Jenny and Forrest Gump. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Katie's Golden Dust. Um, oh, Mindy says, "Oh, you're totally fine. If people want to come and find me, they'll have to get through security." Great. Thank you. I feel better. You know me. I'll worry about something and I can't fully move on until that thing is taken care of. So we're good. My lady Castiel, you're actually not late. We were just kind of chit-chatting a little bit because we knew notifications weren't going out. Somebody said they got theirs, but I don't see them in Patreon. The way that my or Discord, the way my Discord is set up is that it automatically announces when a video goes live, and that's based on notifications. So why for some people and not for others? I don't know. I don't know. I did share the live on social media. I can't do that on Instagram. I don't have 10K followers, so I can't do like a swipe up or anything like that. But I did post in community tab as well as Twitter. And we know how much I don't like Twitter, so I got brave and went there. So we're talking about Jenna. Can we just agree that Jenna is the worst character? It's it's okay. 69 people is a fine number. It means I don't have enough money for chicken nuggets. Do I count as a mean girl? I think I've been a mean girl before, and we'll talk about that. But with regards to Jenna, I was there's this channel that I'm going to be talking about called The Take. Does anybody here watch The Take? Right as I was heading over here to start this, I didn't know they did a video about Forrest Gump. And I was like, "Oh, that is such a oh my gosh, there's so much commentary and so much to pick apart in that movie." Oh, I wanna talk about Forrest Gump one of these days. Such a classic. Also, a lot of the filming is done in Savannah, historic downtown Savannah. Oh my gosh, love. Um, I feel sad for Jenna too because she definitely did come from a really rough situation, but I firmly believe in once you're an adult, you really gotta take charge of your own problems and not just, like, invite the guy who's been trying to marry you and love you and all that to come, marry you and be with you only when you find out that you're sick. Fun fact, not a fun fact, not fun, but just interesting fact. A lot of people assume that Janae died of AIDS/HIV because that the time period it was set in was like right around the time of the like AIDS epidemic. But it was actually I heard somewhere at least I read like on a like 50 little known facts about Forrest Gump that it was actually hepatitis C, which that makes a lot of sense for all the needles she was sharing and stuff. So it's kind of assumed that's how she got it. So um, the other thing too that I was gonna say is that we talked last week, I shortly, about briefly, we talked about Euphoria and Dare's response to Euphoria, what we thought about Dare, etcetera, and I said that maybe we could do a video about that soon or a live, and a lot of people were like, "Yes, yes, 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 wanna do that." And then I had an idea. So, um, let me know what you think. So instead of doing one live where we talk about Dare and Euphoria, which we already kind of to discuss our thoughts on that. I can maybe for a singular video kind of deep dive into Dare, what we were taught, what they're doing these days, what I think of it all, and we can pick it apart, which I think wouldn't be a bad idea for next week. But what I'm thinking is a nice little surprise, hopefully a happy one. But I'm thinking not next week, but the week after that, we'll do a week of BAPs. And by a week, I mean 4 days. But like Monday through Thursday, this time, we'll get together, and what I'll do is, because I need time to like rewatch the whole series of Euphoria, and the season finale will be this Sunday. So what I'd like to do is go through and rewatch every episode and take my notes and do kind of like a sober person reacts. So the way I see it is we could probably cover like half a season per live stream. So you can like really deep dive into like episodes 1 through 4, then 5 through 8, and then season 2, 1 through 4, then 5 through 8. And so I suspect that could be like a 4-day event. What do we think? The play in Euphoria was crazy. How was it allowed? So I thought the same thing. I was like, "There's no high school," but then again, there's no high school, at least when I was in high school, that would let the kids dress the way they do. That was crazy, but also, fun to watch because I think I'm Alexi, and I brought that up to, my friend Amber, and she was like, "Oh my god, you're such a Lexi." So I might even dress up as different characters. I know which outfit would be a Lexi outfit. I want her whole wardrobe too. No opinion as you don't watch. But are you interested in addiction recovery stuff? Because that's what it will be about. It won't be about Euphoria, and which is interesting because this could also be like a Cassie outfit. And no worries, these are actually shorts, so I'm not going to be showing the goods no matter how I sit. Yeah, no spoilers for the people that haven't gotten a chance to watch. I say let's give people. That's why kind of why I want to wait until not next week, but the week after. That way, it gives people a full week to watch the last episode. But I think that would be fun, right? Is this live spoiler free? No. This live is about Mean Girls. So, but we're not talking about Euphoria. We're just talking about plans to talk about Euphoria. Katie's Golden Dust, I felt the same way in terms of, like, everybody was talking about it, but I didn't watch it, um, the first season, and then I don't remember what got me interested, but I decided to watch it this time around, and I didn't realize that it so heavily involves addiction and addiction recovery, so of course I'm interested. Hey, Pixity. Is it on Netflix? No, it's on HBO. You'd need an HBO Max account. Yes, we're talking about the Mean Girls movie. We were just giving people time to shuffle in. So, I wanna talk about some thoughts that I was having about Mean Girls, but I also, like, first of all, like, we're not debating here. I'm not asking for a debate, but I would like to hear you guys' thoughts, you guys's, your alls, use all, use all thoughts, all of your thoughts, um, in response to these observations and assessments, but also maybe any other theories or observations of your own of Mean Girls and their characters and stuff like that, because I think that would be really interesting. So, doo, doo, doo. So, and really, the spoiler here is that we're going to talk about who the real antagonist is of Mean Girls. So, doo, doo, doo. So I do know of a YouTuber that talks about like knowing your trope, which like who are you? Like, are you the like dumb jock in the movie, or are you the nerdy smart girl? It's kind of like an interesting practice to kind of like get to know oneself. So I have been compared to Katie Heron, and so I want to explore that a little bit. But really I had just other thoughts on the movie all around. Okay. Elise B, you're gonna like this stream then. Okay, but I wanna look at the kind of first I wanna kinda look at Katie Heron and kind of the parallels that I drew to YouTube, which would be the microcosm of YouTube portion of the title. So yeah, so let's pretend that I am Katie Heron. I don't think that's a crazy like a long shot to imagine. I was a military brat, moved around a lot. I was a mathlete. Um, otherwise mostly kept to myself and made friends here and there, but wasn't really like all that scene. I never became one of the popular girls, and that actually, um, Katie getting integrated with the plastics might be a better parallel for me to or in terms of, me meeting the YouTube community or the people that I met or whatever you wanna say, because this getting on YouTube is like going to a whole new school, but so much scarier. Uh, so, yeah, so I was saying that, being new to YouTube might be similar to, going to a new school. Um, and so kind of along those lines, when, it's a very common trope with all teen movies, but, where somebody is giving the new kid a tour, and it's typically lunchtime, and they're introducing those are like I said, those are the jocks, those are the nerdy kids, those are the popular girls, those are the outcasts, da, da, da. So, it's kind of it's kind of interesting because I can see a similar parallel to YouTube in terms of all the different communities. It's like there's the true crime community. There's the mukbang community. I knew I knew the proper pronunciation. Mukbang community. There's a knitting community. There's pet tube. There's drama YouTube. So there are all these different communities, and I do think that comes up at the end of the movie. Yes, there will be spoilers. It's Mean Girls. Um, at the end of the movie, they kind of reveal all of the drama that everybody in the school is having, right? And Katie says, "It seemed that every clique had its own problems." So that again, I was like, that is like YouTube because you hear about drama and problems within every single little community that exists. Including like the knitting community, and you're like, the knitting community has drama? I remember somebody saying like the drama in the pet tube community is really bad. And I'm like, really? Pet tube? People just enjoying pets? But I guess like, yeah, Coffee Bean says pet YouTube is a whole thing. Ugh. So, sorry guys, I'm going to time out a user. So yeah, so I thought all of that was pretty apt. And as far as my journey, which I'm only going to touch on this because I'm really way more interested in analyzing another character. But in full transparency, a few months to a year-ish into me having a YouTube channel, I had some people within my audience start to criticize me for being a mean girl on Twitter. And I don't think they're in the wrong. Twitter, I felt like I was fighting for good, and that is something that happens in the movie. People doing awful things, but thinking that they're on the right side, thinking that they're doing something for good. So, let's see. So yeah, so in the beginning, of course, Katie's a nobody. Then she kind of gets integrated into this group, is criticized is called a mean girl, becomes a mean girl. I've been criticized for being a mean girl a few months, like I said, a few months after, let's say 6 months ish into me being on YouTube and particularly on Twitter. And then Katie kind of goes on to like accept accountability for the burn book, even though she isn't solely responsible for it, and just like wants to keep her head down and makes this resolution not to talk about people anymore and just goes on to live a pretty like normal life. I would love that. I would love to have just a normal, peaceful little existence with my little community, however uncool we are, and however unpopular our opinions are. I just want cool people around. So, yeah. So who's the antagonist of Mean Girls? Is it Regina George? Of course, if you ask anyone, almost everyone would say Regina George is the antagonist of the movie. And let me be clear, Regina is awful. Awful, awful, awful. She's not in I don't call people good and bad, but in the scope of good and bad characters. She's not a good character. She is a pretty bad character almost entirely through the movie. You guys are so onto it. The true antagonist is Janice, in my opinion. So again, I mentioned this channel, The Take, and they do a lot of deep dive analyses on like different TV shows and movies and tropes and stuff like that. I love it so much. This is the sort of stuff I'm watching these days, and it's great. Um, sorry, I paused to check in with the chat, and I'm loving it. So the take, and I want to be clear that a good bit of this, what I'm about to say, are kind of points that came from the take, but I also don't know exactly where the line is drawn between what the take said and what I wrote down as a note. So I'll try to remember to put that video in the description of this. And so if I don't, can somebody please remind me on Patreon? But I just think it's a really good video to watch. But essentially, the take points out that Janice is potentially the most compatible person to Regina George, who we see as the worst person in this movie and at this school. Janice is the most compatible as they were best friends as children. Another couple of things that they pointed out is that the way that Janice kind of expresses herself with her aesthetic is not even necessarily genuine. We don't know if this is even truly who she is, or rather who she is in relation to Regina George. And so throughout the whole movie, you see that Janice exists almost solely in relation to Regina George. I'm as Katie Johnson, as far as why Janice, we're getting into it. But yeah, they do talk about how when they had their falling out, when Regina made up a terrible rumor, Janice, it says that she cut off her hair, and it was kind of like an act of rebellion. So I wonder how much of what she does is an act of rebellion against Regina George. So, but the take postulated that perhaps Janice is worse than Regina George because she is the one character in the movie that is really just like acting out a vendetta. That she seeks to destroy people's lives and is cruel. She encourages spying, sabotage, psychological warfare, etc. Um, and it was the take that said it is ultimately Janice who corrupts Katie and not Regina, which is a really interesting way to look at it. I hadn't thought deeply enough about it. You just kind of accept like, yeah, it was the plastics that corrupted Lindsay Lohan, Katie, whatever. But it was Janice. I'm gonna take a step. Oh, by the way, the video that I was watching, titled something like "The Unpopular Mean Girl." So that's the only thing that separates Janice. Sorry, I'm trying to remember everyone's name. Janice and the Plastics is just that she's unpopular. Oh. Bailey said like Katie wouldn't have become plastic if Janice hadn't pushed her to spy on Regina. Most likely not. That's one reason. And Casey says, not to interrupt, but middle part looks so great. Thank you. Erica says Janice pushed Katie into being mean and then was shocked when she was mean. Like, WTF? Blue says also Janice was totally coded as a lesbian, and I hated that she ends up with a creepy guy too. I want to mention that too. It's in my notes. So I am not purporting that Regina George is a good or virtuous character. I am only comparing her to Janice. Damn it, forgot her last name. I was going to say Regina George and Janice. Somebody here knows her last name. Shelby, stop. Oh, stop it. You're making me blush. / I have a mild allergy to a medication I took, so I just have red patches on my skin. Janice Ian, was that her last name? Now that I think about it. Oh, yeah. And Mindy, it looks like, was saying that, but accidentally. Janice Iak. Janice Ian. Yeah, that's right. So looking at these, Jake actually kind of pointed some of these things out with me while we were watching Mean Girls, kind of like taking notes. Some things that we noticed is that if you look at their first meeting, when both of these girls meet Katie Heron for the first time, Regina saves Katie from being sexually harassed. Because if you don't recall, when she encountered Katie for the first time, that creepy dude that Gretchen Wieners likes was like asking her if her muffin is buttered or something like that. So Regina like shooed him away and kind of saved her from that situation. Janice, when she first encounters Katie, first laughs, like snickers under her breath when Katie is like physically threatened by another classmate for sitting in her seat. And then she goes on to trick Katie into skipping class. I mean, and depending on who you ask, like I say that's not a good thing. For somebody who's trying hard to like make it into a new school and get good grades and all that, we can't just trick people into skipping school, you know? Yeah, we can, and for sure, we feel for Janice, we feel for Regina, we feel for the Plastics, we feel for Katie. Everybody goes through their struggles, and I think that's, also one of the morals of the story to take away is just kind of people's different experiences. It's like people have all these different experiences, but there are certain things that are universal, like how it feels. Right? Like, just like saying like, "Oh, we had all this drama between us, but it turns out that community had drama, that community had drama, or that clique had drama, but we all have a shared experience of, like of feeling bullied and victimized or angry." And anger is a really big one that Mrs. Norbury tells them to find a way to properly deal with their anger. So that's a common one. Katie says Janice had so much opportunity to help Katie not to be pulled in by the Plastics, but she was so jealous of her that she decided to do nothing good to help Katie. Interesting. And then Stephanie says, and Janice is the one who clearly points out all the cliques. Very true. I was going to say, these were their first meetings. I will say that both Regina and Janice went on to control Katie and act as bad influences in her life. So they're both mean girls, and it makes sense because what did we say at the beginning of this is that those two are possibly the most compatible in this movie. I was just checking in with the chat too. Where were we? Oh, and they both discourage her to do mathletes. That breaks my heart. I was a mathlete. It was one of the best parts of high school. You get to miss school and go on trips just to do these little competitions that ultimately didn't really mean anything. Plus, I liked all the math boys, so it was fun. I was like the only girl. Let's see. What did Shelby say? I'm seeing an agreement. I've been Janice, I've been Katie, I've been Regina. There you go. I think all of us have been all of them at some point, right? Jane says, I'm not trying to hate on Regina, but if literally everyone in school, including teachers and people from other schools, hate someone, they're probably not a good person. Again, I don't talk in terms of people being good or bad, but yeah, probably not the most decent character out there. I agree. Blue, you beat me to the chase. I was gonna say, then we should not aspire to be Janice Ians. We should not aspire to be necessarily Katie Herons or Gina Georges. It's Glenn Coco who you want to be. I actually didn't mind so much Gretchen and Karen. I didn't think that they were all that mean. I just thought they were dumb. Mathletes are real. What are you talking about, Leaf? Have you never had a math team at any of your schools? What do I think Regina's motivation is for being the way she is? Good question. Bad parenting. We meet her mom. We see that her mom is obsessed with all the things that Regina is obsessed with. So, like, being young, being plastic, she's got they make a whole thing of her plastic surgery. Um, yeah, being young, hip, stylish, hot, sexy, popular, and she had that as a model, and then the way that she was like they were like, "This is your bedroom?" She was like, "It was my parents, but I made them give it to me." It's like, so she's also spoiled and probably doesn't know discipline in any way. I mean, I as far as I'm qualified to analyze, Regina. America's the outlier in terms of having math teams? No, you're telling me that no other country has math teams, or if they are, they're an outlier too? Christelle says, "I missed so much already. Hi, everyone in Leash. Hi." Well, I'm about to finish reading my notes and we can just discuss. Yeah, Cassidy makes a good point. Regina was pretty much praised constantly for her bad behavior. Axio Turtle, what country are you in that has math teams? Not in Spain. Is it countries or is it just different schools? I wonder if it's just areas, because I'm sure there are areas in the United States or at least schools that don't have math teams, right? I'm sh I'm almost sure. We can't ever be sure. Who can never be sure? Um, yeah, so they discouraged her from doing mathletes. So both of them discouraged her from doing mathletes. Both of them went on to control her, influence her in bad ways. And then one thing to kind of bear in mind while we talk about this, even though Katie is so malleable, especially entering a new school and all of that, trying to make friends, even though she is so malleable, she's ultimately responsible for her behavior. So we can talk about how she was influenced, she was kind of maybe brainwashed or controlled. You can say all of that, but at the end of the day, she had the agency to make these decisions against her better judgment. Do, do, do. And so, yeah, I said this before that, that somebody asked, "Am I a mean girl?" And I was like, "Well, I've definitely seen myself slip into like acting out in ways that I don't normally, particularly on Twitter, and was criticized by some people within my audience, just saying that like who I was on YouTube when I first started, just seems very different from who I was being on Twitter." And but like if you asked me then, I would be like, "But I'm fighting for what's right. I'm fighting for good." And I think that we don't really get to see much of that perspective from Regina if she believes that she's good or believes that the things they're interested in are good. But Janice does believe she's on the side of good. She called her clique, which really is just her and Damien, but maybe they have some like fringe friends, but she refers to them as the greatest people you'll ever meet. Um, yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. But what's interesting is that in terms of redemption, we see a lot of characters get their redemption. Some of them just kind of like pivot and go do different things. But I would say that if this movie were more self aware, then Regina would have, at the very least, dumped Janice as a friend, or better yet, Janice should have received a redemption arc. She didn't. So, looking at a couple of the other characters, Katie becomes her authentic self, and then, of course, like wins over the school with her speech and breaking up the tiara, and then she gets a gold medal, and so she has her redemption arc, and like I said, takes accountability for something that she didn't do, and then goes on to um kind of make this pact with herself and shares with Miss Norbury that she's not interested in like talking about other people, basically. Regina does get a redemption in terms of kind of the humbling experiences she had to go through with gaining weight and then being hit by the bus and having to wear that big back brace. But then once she's healed, of course, she finds a way to properly, like Miss Norbury suggested, properly channel her anger through field hockey, through sports in general, because I don't know if perhaps she played other sports. But then you also see at the end of the movie that she's hanging out with other athletes, basically. So that's great for them. But Janice, where was Janice's redemption? They did this whole like apology and trust fall activity in the gym, like towards the end. And, even though a lot of the apologies, like, were really dumb, they were, like, some were not real apologies, although the person did try in a way, or they were just mostly just funny. But, Janice doesn't give any sort of real apology. She, kinda says "fuck you" to the whole thing. And, during that exercise, she admits to sabotaging, Regina George's life, admitting, but really she's not admitting, she's really kind of throwing Katie under the bus here, in my opinion, but says that she sent Katie to spy on the plastics and to report back everything that they say so that they could laugh at the things that the plastics were saying. And my last note is she gets a boyfriend out of the deal. What's that about? Please. Pixity, you said everyone celebrates her. Are you talking about Janice? I celebrated Janice at one point until I really but something felt a little off watching her. And then when I watched this video by The Take, I was like, there's a reason it feels off. There is a reason. Oh, I see I was water ganged. Also, I went through all my notes and it's only 6:07. So, um, I've got 50 something minutes to talk about what you guys think or what you gleaned from Mean Girls, or any other, like I said, any other observations that you guys made, about other characters or scenarios, or perhaps that could tack on to this. Very interested. Um, My Lady Castiel says when Janice introduces the plastics to Katie, she essentially slut shames them. That does happen a lot in this movie, slut shaming, and everybody's doing it too. Um, a lot of control, manipulation. Yeah, a lot. Um, Janice's redemption is getting away from everything, getting away with everything, and then still getting away with it when the audience sides with her and villainizes Regina. Ooh, there should be a Mean Girls 2, where we actually see everybody else has moved on with their lives and like, what is Janice up to? Bailey says, I'm torn in a way. I don't agree uh, what Janice did, but it is satisfying as someone who was severely bullied in high school. Bullied to see her get revenge. Doesn't make it right though, but I understand the anger. Of course. And I think I like I said, I had a mild criticism of the movie itself. Like, if it were more self-aware, it would have done this. But I mean, overall, I think nobody doesn't love Mean Girls. Everybody loves that movie. And you do get kind of like this vicarious with characters that, let's say, like bad. Like, let's characterize Janice as bad. With bad characters, we can vicariously get something out of their bad behavior, because it's like something that you won't necessarily do in your own life because it goes against your value system. But in a cheap way, it does kind of give you a little burst of dopamine to see somebody do what you wish you could have done, you know? I think it's totally fine to watch it through that lens. Shelby says, I think teenagers are immature, and also they sometimes need to go through these shitty moments to learn not to engage with it, which is a good point and actually brings up another topic that I saw. Because obviously, like, teen years are meant to be very like exploratory, even though for me, I didn't explore much at all. It was really my 20s where I did a lot of exploring, but it is a lot of like figuring out who you are, who are your friends, what constitutes friendship, what makes a good friend, how do you interact. Like, there's a reason that so many conversations about human behavior go back to high school and teen years because I do think, like, it's not always the case that who we were in high school is who we are when we grow up, but it does, I think, and this is coming from an untrained, unprofessional, I'm not any sort of mental health professional at all, but, it's almost like a lot of our behavior can be explained by how we lived in high school. So, that doesn't necessarily mean we are the same people. I like thank you for the compliments on my hair and stuff like that, but I did not look like this in high school. I had a very, very different experience than what one would assume just by looking at me. If I'm being completely honest, which I am typically, very transparent with you guys. This is if I looked like this, I would have had a very different experience. So, I go out into the world and people treat me a certain way that I'm not acclimated to responding to. Does that and so I'm wondering if there's gotta be other people within the chat that have had a similar experience. At least with me, it was like ugly duckling syndrome. But there are other ways that people can treat you and you're not prepared because you were somebody different growing up. Oh, Rosie, I wish you loved you like we love you. You're the cutest little thing. Erica, it's okay to know you're hot. Only with this hair. Only with this hair do I feel that confident. Let me read these chats. My lady Castiel says Janice also takes advantage of Katie knowing she's new, grew up homeschooled, and doesn't have the best social skills, then uses that to get revenge. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people like saw her and they were like, "Ooh, fresh meat." Um, like a clean slate. We can, impart whatever we want on this person. It's a good observation. Bailey says, I think there's something to be said about how every character is so influenced by those around them. Katie by the plastics and by Janice, Janice by Regina, Regina by her mother, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Like I said, some of these characters, and of course that is like how movies work, right? How movies and TV shows work is that the protagonist is the one who's typically the most complex person, and they have very fleshed out personalities and backstories and all of that. Whereas there are other characters that kind of are there for one specific reason. Like some of them only have one personality trait. Um, but for sure, like I said, with Janice, I do stop and go, huh. Everything that she does is in relation to Regina, and Regina only mentions Janice once, I think, when she's not around. People expect teenage girls to look like actresses with full-on makeup and hair teams. It's messed up. The ones that kinda do is because they have the money to get it done. Oof, I can't imagine how difficult it is being in high school right now, like, with social media and all that. Like, I've thought about that because you see these TikToks and Instagram posts and stuff like that of, like, 13, 14-year-old girls, full face of makeup, um, because it's so accessible, and how to do your makeup is so accessible on YouTube, and I am I'm that millennial that grew up just enough before the internet really kind of like boomed. So, YouTube was established and then started to take off towards the very end of my college career, I guess you'd say. So, that's not I don't know. I don't know if I probably would have existed differently. Probably might have been a little more fixated on my looks. I really wasn't very fixated on my looks at all in high school. I wasn't allowed to date. Nobody wanted to date me. It didn't really matter. I had fun with some of the ways that I played with clothes and stuff like that, but that was just for me. Um, but yeah, that's got to be tough. Um, Pixity says there's a phenomenon of kids getting older, younger, and it's so interesting to hear people talk about it. Yeah, it scares me, honestly. It scares me. Because of course, well, they the joke, I always roll my eyes at it, but they say like the robots are gonna kill us and your technology is gonna kill us. And like it's doing something. It's doing something to kids that are still in school. Oh my gosh, like the what a person deals with being online and having all of these eyes on you and all these people who have something to say about you as a person and your existence and all that. Like that's hard enough to deal with as like a 30 something person who is, well taken care of in terms of her health and where her life is. It's hard enough for those of us. I can't imagine what it would be like being like 13, 14 years old, like literally in these crucial developmental years in under such scrutiny. Oh, it's so scary. I think I need some water. Oh, but what somebody was saying, well, we were just talking about teenage experience in general, but another good point that they brought up in a video, The Take. I'm such a fan of The Take. Um, No, 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 sorry, it wasn't The Take, it was a similar channel that I watched, I don't remember what it was called, but they talked about how, and this kinda goes back to, like, Euphoria and shows like that. They were saying that there's kind of a lack of media or just, like, TV shows for teenagers. And so, I'm watching Euphoria and I'm very much enjoying it, but a lot of the things that they're going through in Euphoria, like a lot of the things are not real, obviously, but like things that I could have imagined being relatable in some way in my 20s. That's something that I can see more of. It is very explicit. It's very much focused on sex and drugs. Um, And and I'm not criticizing Euphoria for doing that with teenagers. I think it's a fantastic show, but this person was pointing out that kids these days have, like, their Nickelodeon and Disney Channel shows. Like, I think the one she used as an example was, Cat and Cat and Sam and Cat, is that what it's called? Um and like these slapstick silly shows that focus on like friendship and family values and everything's lighthearted and funny, to going straight to shows like Gossip Girl, um what are the other examples, Riverdale, Euphoria, and it's just so hot and heavy. It's like there's no in between, there's no good wholesome enough content for teenagers that kind of bridges the gap between, the raunchy stuff that may be more relatable or maybe should be relatable a little bit later in life, like at least when you like college on. So what's there for the kids that are like between like 12 to 18? They're going to go straight from Disney and shit to watching these raunchy TV shows for teenagers. I heard that Degrassi did have some kind of salacious moments, but yeah, I think I remember, I'm trying to think of when I was a young teenager, what we had to watch. I think there were plenty of shows to watch. I was a the show Certain shows like 90210 and Melrose Place and Party of Five, shows like that were a little bit before my time, so I can't really say, uh, much about them. Also, there was Saved by the Bell. That was a good sitcom that was pretty universal for a lot of ages. Um, but I watched a lot of TGIF. So there's Step by Step, that's another show about family values and such. There was, what are some of the shows that were on the CW or something like that? Like Dawson's Creek and Seventh Seventh Heaven, is that what it's called? But, I didn't watch those, but those were some examples. Dawson's Creek, I think, is a really good example of, like, shows for teenagers in that bracket. I had Step by Step, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There was, like, one season with the show called, Teen Angel. Loved it, and it did not get picked up for a second season. So, what's that about? We need to give some more TV shows for the kids, right? Let's see what the Lily Dawson says. Yes, TGIF. You want to know something interesting? I liked one of the characters' names, and I got to name my sister when I was 10 years old, and my parents finally gave me a baby sister. I gave her the name of one of the characters step by step. Seventh Heaven. Yeah, I remembered that existed, but I don't think I've ever watched an episode of it. Whew. I am feeling a little like I said, I'm having like the mildest, don't worry about me, the mildest allergic reaction to a medication. I need to take a breath. um, People are now reminiscing on certain shows. Secret Life of the American Teenager is its own topic. Oh, the way that you capitalize that made it look like it's like a TV show or a documentary. So I'm like, "Ooh, what is this? Secret Life of the American Teenager." Is it? Just to double check, is that a topic that you thought of, or is it actually like a show, documentary, or something like that? Doo, doo, doo. Thank you, Jane, for pointing out that there's a bot. Teen Angel was so good, says Jessica. Haven't thought of it in forever. It was my favorite. Remember at his funeral when Jordan, the cool guy, wrote him a poem and he said, I knew a dude who ate some food that was rude. I knew a dude. I'm going to a funeral this weekend. Maybe I'll say that. No, I'm kidding. Glee was a good one. Yeah. What's the most recent show that was like wholesome enough for young teenagers? Could it be Glee? Was there anything after that? I was about to name shows or movies, so maybe it's after my time, so it's hard for me to think of like what else was going on around the time of Glee, or like when did we make this jump to not having like to going straight to what's salacious and not having anything for teenagers. My hair did not grow this fast, Brittany. Thank you, but my hair doesn't grow like at all. I haven't seen any other. Did I miss any other possible observations or theories on Mean Girls? Because God, people love that movie, and there's just like so many ways you could pick it apart. Oh, yep. Girl Meets World. Foster's was Foster's. No, I'm thinking Ben Foster. He was in a show with somebody else. He was like best friends with the girl. So iCarly and Victorious, I think would fall. Those are not shows that I watch, but I know of them. Those would fall into those shows that are for kids or like older kids, like up to 10 years old or so, maybe 12 years old. Yeah. Katie said, I never climbed through a friend's window. Guess I didn't live a full teenage life. True. Just like freaking Clarissa explains it all and her best friend. Oh, you know what another show was that I liked around that time? Like, I watched it way late, but, the show Awkward. Like, I feel like there should be more shows like that, but that one, admittedly, I liked a lot. Erica says, "I saw Mean Girls at age 12 in the theater, and I thought if I didn't look like them, I'd be bullied in high school." That is so rough. Like, I hate that. I hate hearing how bullied people were in school who went through high school after me. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there's like a correlation between the rise of social media and how much bullying goes on. But then again, people are way more brave behind a keyboard. Victorious had some racy jokes, but were they racy? How am I putting this? Subliminally, kind of, because that dude, the producer, oh, what a total creep. Like had Ariana Grande like always doing stuff with her feet. Weirdo. Leaf says, I got bullied, but now I'm funny and sexy. I do not disagree with you. Chriselle says, growing up in South Africa and not having our versions of cable, teenage shows were kind of limited. I remember Gilmore Girls and Smallville, though. Yeah, those were shows that I didn't watch, but I feel like Gilmore Girls was also one of those, like Seventh Heaven, like those other shows where it kind of gave you the opportunity to really explore actual serious issues that people go through, but in a way that is maybe appropriate, even if you were like, say, 12 or 13 years old and wanted to watch. Lizzie McGuire, I loved it, but I would put that in the TV for kids category. Same with like Even Stevens and shows like that. All Girl Meets World probably too. Bet Davis says, off topic, but I took my daughter to the theater on her 13th birthday to watch 13 Going on 30. That was so sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I've been revisiting that one because Nick DiRamio did do a breakdown on 13 Going on 30. And wow, that movie is it's just good. It's just, it hits the spot. Movies like that where you're like, it's just exactly what it purported to be. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's exactly what we needed from it. And Judy Greer playing the supporting actress, playing the best friend in just about every movie cracks me up. Freaks and Geeks. See, I don't think a lot of people watch Freaks and Geeks. I watched it in my 20s. And I think still, yes, I would think that would be maybe a little more appropriate for a younger audience than what is out there right now. Erica says 13 Going on 30 is when I fell in love with Mark Ruffalo. You want to know when I did? 2004, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, when he plays like one of the little like brain hacker geeks, and he wears the like glasses that are like thicker than mine. Love him. Like dancing around on the bed in his little tidy whities. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Come on. Undeclared, I had never heard of, but Freaks and Geeks, I watched, I liked, I would like to watch it again. Janina says sex education is good, but goes a little overboard at times. I haven't caught up with that one in a while, but I agree. Like the way that they do talk about sex and relationships, they kind of explain things for their audience in ways that are relatable, that they can apply to their own lives, their real problems, not just with sex and relationships, but also just like social dynamics in high school, especially with his his best friend being gay and Black, and kind of his experiences, the things that he goes through that are difficult or scary, or any of those things. There are also other issues that I'm sure have come up and I've heard about them, but I haven't caught up with sex education in a long time. Let me take care of a bot real quick. Gotcha. I gotcha. I'm gonna get you. So sad she's planning to end the vlog style videos. They were my favorites. Not sure who you're talking about, but my guy is actually super innocent, like Charlie too, so just little weird. I wish I knew who you guys were talking about. I was gonna go call their mom. Bye. Some Blondie. Look at you, Leaf. Clocking that Blondie illusion reference, whatever you want to call it. Sophia says, hi, Leaf, just logged back onto YouTube after some months. Hope you've been doing well. Thank you so much. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Thank you for wishing me well, and I hope you're doing well as well. Well. Perks of Being a Wallflower. That was a movie, correct? I watched it, but I don't remember anything from it. I might have even read the book. Yeah, it's so funny when sometimes, by the way, your messages will don't come through because you said a word that holds it for review, and nobody cares to hit accept. Just FYI if that happens to you. Tinuvial, the fair. I love it. I would love it if you guys would tell me when I'm pronouncing these names, if I'm pronouncing them correctly or incorrectly. Hi, Leash. I'm happy you're back. Thank you. Allison Diaz says, hi, y'all. I finally caught up. I didn't get the notification, so I rewatched the live on 2 times speed, and now you're here. It was like you were running to catch up to us. Leash, you look beautiful. Thank you so much. That's so funny. Chris, oh, you guys have been watching Christy Carlson Romano. I watched a couple of videos, short videos that she made, and I was like, this girl is like actually like interesting. There's a lot of stuff about her that I like. I'll just leave it at that. Two, two, two. Let's see. I missed that post. I'm glad she's still uploading. Are you guys talking about Christy Carlson Romano still? I'll miss her walks outside, but I'm sure they'll be great. That's one of those videos I watched. She was walking outside. It was like hiking, and I was like, huh, I wonder what this is like for the person who has to film her. Oh, Janie. So sorry. You know what? That's my mom's name. So I'll remember. I won't forget it. Spelled differently, but oh, Janie is a nickname for Jane. Interesting. That's not for my mom. My mom's name is Juana, actually. The Spanish name. My name was actually meant to be Spanish as well. My mom is Juana, but she became Janie in school, and so now she almost only goes by Janie unless it's like something super formal. And I was born Alicia. The first year or so of my life, I was Alicia. And then I was adopted by a very American dad who didn't speak any Spanish. And then I got integrated into all these American schools and I became Alicia. Now I'm thinking about something. I was referencing my dad and I was telling Amber, I was doing an impression of my dad where he says like, Nicole, blah, 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 blah. She goes, what did you say your dad called you? And I was like, my dad calls me Nicole. She goes, why? So because that's my middle name. And now I'm wondering, like, did dad start calling me by my middle name because he felt insecure about pronouncing Alicia correctly? Made that connection 30 some odd years later. It's a possibility. I would like Christy. I feel like you too, and we'd be friends. I feel like we're similar, right? Like I said, going back to what I said at the very beginning of this video, I want to know who your tropes are. Let me know who you are. But like I said, this YouTuber was saying that it's important to know who you are in relation to the rest of the world. Like, what is your trope? And I know, so I've been thinking on that because I've always struggled with my identity in terms of like nailing down like who am I like in relation to the rest of the world. I always want to know. That's why I love personality tests. I love it when people like sometimes people will be like, you're a geek, you're a hipster, you're this or that. So and I embrace it all because I want to know how I exist. I feel like there's a psychoanalysis coming from Pixity soon, and I'm excited for it. But I've always wondered, like, where do I fit in with everybody else? And then I also realized too, this is not the greatest, but it's interesting to think about it now. But I think before I used to kind of characterize my identity in relation to the men that I was dating. So, for a long time, for my ex whose funeral I'm going to, I thought I was like this manic pixie dream girl type because he was very much like a Joel. And so I thought I was a Clementine if we're talking about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I'm realizing like I'm not that girl. I'm not some manic pixie dream girl. It all depends, right, on who you are. So like still in relation to other people, I am going to be a different trope to different people. But in the grand scheme of things, figuring out who you are in the grand scheme of society is it's tough. It's tough to figure that out. But I think I'm somewhere between like girl next door after a makeover, like the smart girl kind of thing. I know that I have been like likened to certain characters like, whoever Zoe Deschanel or not. Is it Zoe Deschanel? There are two Deschanels. Yeah, Zoe Deschanel, Aubrey Plaza, Janine Garofalo, like the smart girl. Maybe she's a little quirky, maybe she's kind of cynical, depends on the day. I've been compared to Daria. So uh who are you guys? I want to know. I want to know. Mindy doesn't know what her trope would be. I wonder if we can find an interesting quiz on that. Coffee Bean says men treat us like manic pixie dream girls because they fantasize about it and then project it onto us. That's a sweeping generalization, but yeah, that's kind of the whole purpose of a manic pixie dream girl, right? Is that she exists solely to liven up a guy who is dead inside or whatever for whatever reason. You're the middle dog. You're just along for the ride. Is that who you are in Monopoly? Leaf. Emily got their medication changed. Yay, congrats. Brittany says, that's how I feel. Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Tanuvial, you get compared to Disney princesses all the time. Okay, which ones? Which Disney princess are you? I think it's pretty obvious that I'd be like either a Snow White or a Belle. Maybe because my hair is brown, but that's who I've been compared to the most is Belle. I so would love to be Ariel, but I'm not. I watched another video too that talked about how Disney princesses, like, even though we see them as these like hyper feminine things that like, we tend to think like hyper feminine things for kids or hyper masculine things might be toxic in terms of like the gender roles that it's imparting on these children. But if you look at it from a different perspective, I thought it was interesting to see that like with Disney princess movies, the princess almost always goes through some sort of experience and is very empowered. Like Jasmine, she sneaks out of her palace and she goes and does her thing. Tangled was a movie that I don't ever watch animations, and I watched Tangled with Jake over the weekend and I loved it. Who else? Yeah, that was a good example. Belle, obviously, like she wants something more than just her small town, and she's smart and she's not going to be any man's just like little boo thing or whatever. So it's just interesting the roles that Disney princesses, especially as time goes on and the writers and producers are becoming more socially aware, more aware of the impact that these characters have on children. I think they're making them better. But Mulan, what a better example than a girl who was able to really step into her own and be so super empowered. And so from that perspective, I was like, yeah, I guess I didn't really get into the whole Disney princesses thing as a kid. But I could see it being a good thing for little girls or little boys or little people. Did you guys tell me which your Disney princesses you are? The tropes, the characters that you are? Tanuvial says right now, since I have blonde hair, it is more to Aurora or Elsa. I haven't seen Frozen. I wonder if it's good. Shelby says, I've been told I'm like Jess from New Girl. Is that Zoe Deschanel? Because I've been told the same thing. Maybe that's why we like each other. Rosie said Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill. I have no idea who those people are. But Janina clearly knows what you're talking about. Pixity says I'm absolutely Ariel all the way. Hell yeah. I watched another video about Ariel, that it could be an allegory for the experience of being gay in the 80s, or in a different sense, you could also look at it as an allegory for being trans or like late 80s, early 90s, because you have this person in the body of a fish, right? And they want to go and fully express themselves and be a person out where the people are. Ask them some questions and get some answers. But her community, particularly her family, doesn't accept that, doesn't want her to want that. And then they also mentioned that I guess there's a more updated similar story for a little boy fish named Luca, I believe. Some of you may have seen that one. But that one was a little more updated. Now, I think that if that's the case for Little Mermaid 1991, I believe, I think it's a really fantastic story to tell at that time, very complex and very nuanced in that sense. Um, and wasn't Ursula based off of a very famous drag queen at the time? That's cool. But with Luca, similar thing. Like he's a fish, but he's a human being. He was born as a fish, but he's a human being, and he wants to exist with the human beings. And at first, the parents they are against it, and then truly, what you find, and I think this should be, of course, I know nothing about the experience of being gay or trans or coming out, so I'm not going to preach on that. But I imagine that a lot of parents that are resistant to accepting it, accepting things like that, I'm sure a lot of parents are afraid, or they're afraid for what their child is going to go through. I'm seeing that on the new episode of, or the new season of Sex and the City. You see Charlotte and Harry having a hard time like adjusting to their child being non-binary. So with this other movie, Luca, the parents apparently like they're worried for their child at first, but then they come around to accepting it, and then they come to the shore, and then they come and do like meals and stuff and try to assimilate into that culture as well. So I do think that these stories are telling really good, are teaching really good. They're very good allegories. Oh, we're still talking about who you look like? No, there's who you look like, and there's who you are like. I probably look like and am somewhat like. My mom said this. If mom says it, it's truer than anyone else. But mom says that I look like, or Scarlett Johansson looked just like me when she was in the Nanny Diaries. She had brown hair, glasses. But I don't think she's a strong enough character for me to say that I am like her in all areas. A little bit. A little bit now that I think about it. Are y'all just gassing each other up now? Okay, what is Janie, what is P flag? I didn't watch the movie, so I'm really interested. Did I even pronounce that right? Our Asian queen Scarlett Johansson, stop. Um You used to relate to Cinderella but have no idea why. I always find it interesting, like, I don't always find it interesting. I found it interesting when I saw a clip of Cinderella the other day where she's, like, making her bed and singing with the birds, and she sings about how one day she'll be happy, and I'm just kind of like, "Girl, you seem happy." Like, you seem like one of those people who's, like, too blessed to be stressed, like, no matter what some people, no matter their circumstances, they're just, like, happy is their state of being regardless of the circumstances around them. But unfortunately, Cinderella being 1950 does focus largely on the end game being a man to marry, a man to take care of you, and one who is royalty, because of course that is like the ultimate end game for a woman in those days, was just like, who is the person that you can marry that is going to be the most well off? Just like one of the sisters, I forgot what her name was, in Little Women, when she was saying, don't try to pretend or tell me that marriage isn't an economic proposition or something like that, because it absolutely is. And it was back in those days. Oh, Janie taught me something. Parents and friends of lesbians and gays. Learned something new. Thank you. I want to hashtag Watergang because I've been talking so much, but I also am starting to really have to pee, and I've got to wait another 16 minutes. Which I'm not taking a pee break this late into this. Let's see. Where are we? Emily Hauser says, I've been here since under 10K subs and it's been amazing to see you grow. Proud of you. Thank you so much. Emily, I'm so curious because I'm it's people like you that really interest me as I like continue to return to YouTube, because I've said this before and this definitely ties in with the whole Katie Heron thing. But I feel like there was a certain, and I've said this like so many times, and I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's really interesting and amazing. But I feel like there was a certain small community around me when I was right around like 10K, right? So you would have been there. There was a certain small community around me, and these people were just like, oh my God, these are the best fucking people I've ever met in my life. They literally just care about everyone they come across, and but at the same time, they're like laid back and easy to talk to and all of this stuff. Of course, my little quote unquote community was born out of a support group on Facebook. Um, but a lot of the people that I think that a lot of the people, a good chunk of the people that were coming around then, I didn't see them so much anymore after a while, when like my channel grew and I became friends with different people and I was engaging in Twitter wars. I was living on Twitter, not nearly as much as a lot of people do, but way too much of my life was on Twitter for a time. And that's around the time people were criticizing me, saying like, you're not, the person you are on Twitter is not a very nice person, blah, blah, blah. But now that I'm coming back and I'm not focusing on YouTube drama, I'm starting to see people come back around who were there in the beginning. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes. You and people like you are the ones that I want around. So if you're new, holy shit, do I appreciate you being here. I really do. My my subscriber count is dwindling and it's going to continue to do so. Um, I've kind of explained this before, but we'll just go into it again. But my subscriber count is dwindling, and I expect that to keep happening as I stray away from YouTuber drama. I mean, that, like, fact of the matter is we saw what happened. It happened with my channel, it happens with other people's channels. But you slap Gabby Hanna's name on a title, and that brings you viewers. Similarly, Trisha Paytas, really Gabby Hanna. People love Gabby content. But that's not so much. Like, I might still have some things to say about what some of these people are doing, but for the most part, I'm not that concerned. Like, I'm way more into like the analysis of like the media that we watch and stuff like that. And by media, I don't mean like news media. It could be news media, but like Mean Girls, like Euphoria. Look at what Dare said about Euphoria. What is Dare up to? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about, and I just want to have like productive conversations with good people. So if you somehow found me after after my subscriber count started going down, thank you, because you represent what I'm hoping to build in terms of shifting my community into something that I want it to be. It feels pretty good. So thank you to all of you. um doo, doo, doo. Dalek says, you said that's me. So happy to see you moving away from that toxicity. Yes, agree. Let's see. Leash. So sort of like how culture affects us. Ooh, yes. Like, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yeah, we are something. I've heard something like you're the sum of the 5 people closest to you. But it's different with YouTube and communities and being the creator. So you're the mouthpiece for your community, and then people are telling you what to say, and then you get to a point where you're not even speaking your own mind. You're saying what other people have told you is the right thing to say in certain situations, and it's really hard to unlearn. It took me a little while, and I'm still working on it. But absolutely, we're affected by the people around us, and I want to bring back a similar community to what I had when I started, which is what this is starting to feel like. And I feel like that truly feels like a good influence on me. Um, if we're talking about, being a product of the culture around you, it's and far less anxiety, right? When you're just around people who are ready to just chill and talk and be supportive of each other. Like, That's what we used to be all about, and, I'd like to return somewhere near there. Um, Allison says, "I've been here since the beginning too. It was beautiful. Was bittersweet watching your content or watching your channel grow because I was happy for you, but sad to see the community change." I hear you. I hear you. Perhaps what I've gone through in recent months is a bit of like an ego death for my YouTube channel, and a return to innocence or whatever you want to call it. Um, oh, what I said, Erica, what I said I was interested in discussing on this channel. I'm not sure because that is a very broad topic. I might be interested. I would need to have something a little more specific to talk about, but it is an interesting concept. Yes, absolutely. Janie says commentary and drama channel runners are burning out left, right, and center. We're also learning how this should work. So true. How many creators have you heard in the past 2-3 months say that they're moving away from drama commentary? So many. So many. Stephanie Luna says we're all welcoming this new wave. Yay. Thank you for welcoming the wave, the new wave. Yes, we're sending positive vibes to Peter Mon. Hoping that he's doing okay. Hoping that the people involved in that accident are okay. Tunuvio says, I was here when you were still at about 1K. Yes, it was. That would have been in 2020. It would have been early 2020. So like I hit 1.6 with my third video. So that would have been mid-March or so. Cool. That would have been like right as I was gaining more subscribers in like a burst. You were in the middle of that wave. Welcome. Mona Lisa Lemon, I would think you'd want more nuance in your community, not a return to what you have, which was or is an echo chamber. Depends on what you're talking about in terms of like what I'm returning to. Because for sure the people that I had around at the very beginning was not anything like an echo chamber. We didn't even spend that much time like venting and expressing opinions on things so much as it was just like I said, like just a good time, just good people, just taking care of each other and being there for each other, telling others to like drink your water, and that's a way of saying that I care for you, stuff like that. And yeah, that is something that I want to return to. Absolutely. And it feels good because it feels like it's returning to that. Stephanie says, kind of like how Brittany Simon is. Like, you can still discuss popular YouTubers, but less in a gossipy way than a reflection on tropes, etc., in our own lives. Yeah, there are a good bit of creators that do that still will talk about YouTubers if it brings up a certain topic that they want to discuss. Abba and Preach do that as well. There's a lot of creators that do that, but don't focus on YouTube drama. Janina says, I can't believe you started in 2020. I feel I've been watching your videos for a lot longer than minus 2 years. Yeah, but what is time in the pandemic? 2020 seems like forever ago, but also seems like a blink of an eye ago. Yeah, it does feel weird that it's been 2 years. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. What do we think about sorry, because I was explaining and I didn't really get a chance to look at the chat, but what do we think about doing a week of Euphoria? Not next week, but the week after that. I've already told Jake and he's like, do your thing. If that's what you want to do, then I'll see you the week after that. But it would be a lot, but it would be fun, I think, to do 1 week. And then if I need to take a break after that, I will. Oh, Mindy used to binge watch me during quarantine when she was anxious and couldn't sleep. We all were anxious, remember? We talked about that a lot, especially like as an example in the early community. We were all going through it with like adjusting to quarantine, and it was very scary a lot of times. So a lot of us were like trading hacks on like anxiety and headaches and shit. Erica says Erica says sounds great. Janina says it would be so fun. Rebecca can't handle euphoria, too many eggplant. Mariah was also really anxious during quarantine. Janie will come to support and flirt with people in the chat. So long as the people are okay with you flirting with them, which I think they are, you're welcome to come and just hang out and flirt with the chat. We'll be talking largely about addiction and how it's depicted in the media. So it's not even really about the show itself. It would be about how addiction and addiction recovery are depicted in the show. I think that could be a lot of fun. And I do want to use what platform I have to spread more information about addiction. I think that is what so many of us have been lacking. And I'm seeing the repercussions of it in our everyday life. And sadly, one of the repercussions of this lack of education on addiction is that there's more people who are struggling with addiction and not recovering. So the more we talk about it, the more we can help, eliminate or decrease that as a problem, as a societal issue at large. Everybody's got a cause that they care about, and you could say that's mine, that I care to actually put a good bit of energy into, that would be coming from the heart. Yeah, I would love to. Sarah Lee is still in recovery. Good job. Congrats. At this point, this is basically a live stream, LMAO. It is a live stream. It is that. It's also basically a podcast once I can figure out my Anchor account so I can upload these. I told somebody that I would get it done last week. I'm trying. It's really hard to get into my account. Maybe Leaf can help me out because they were probably the last one to sign in. Stephanie Luminous is 7 months sober. Congrats. Can we send congrats to the sober people? My top is from Amazon. Nope. I'm embarrassed to say it's from Zaffle. But some of these companies do sell on Amazon, so it might have still been Amazon. Mariah says, did you see my comment about Smoky Glow? She said, you coming back boils down to ego. What do you think about that? I don't know what that even means. Me coming back boils down to ego? What does that mean? I don't know. Beats me. What happened to my account? I'm having a hard time logging in. I had podcast producers for a time, and so we were like sharing accounts, and now I'm like locked out. Brittany is in long-term recovery. Yay! Rebecca says I look cozy and chic. Thank you. Long-haired Leash is back. She'll be here every now and then. Every once in a while. I was telling myself for a little while there, I'm like, oh no, I love it. I'm gonna wear extensions every single day. And then that gets to be a whole thing. So why do you think she came back since everyone was shitting on you? And she was like, IDK, her ego. Yeah, she doesn't know my ego. No, if you want to know why I returned to YouTube, I was not going to let a bad experience to determine whether or not. I don't know why Smoky Glow has like a hate boner for me. She did respond to a DM, so I don't know. I heard that some people were talking to her. So when you have people in your ear and you think that public favor is to shit on me, then you a creator like Smokey Glow will say those things. But I returned because I didn't know whether or not I would come back or be gone for good. But I wasn't going to let a bad experience determine that for me. I was going to give it a shot and see for myself, do I actually enjoy doing this? So and I told myself it's going to be at least 2 weeks of difficulty and hecklers and stuff like that, just to, like, stick it out. And it was actually pretty enjoyable despite that. Like, I don't know if that's what that has to do with ego, but whatever. Um it's just a good time. It's really not that deep. Um, all the drama didn't rock your sobriety, did it? I feel like you're asking if I stayed sober through it all. I did. Thanks, Lee, for the DM. Um, doo, doo, doo. There's some things I'm reading in the chat, but I just don't feel comfortable reading them out loud, if you know what I mean, if that's okay. Wait, did we have a supernatural experience in the shot? Because that's happened before. Okay, I didn't mean to say anything. I haven't even heard firsthand what Hannah said about me. I just heard a couple of notes here and there that seemed a little like lacking in context. Oh, and if you're referring to what Mariah said, she was saying when everyone was shitting on you, not necessarily any. We don't need what we're gonna fight over whether or not Smokey Glow is shitting on somebody. I don't think that's like who cares whether she was or was not. She's typically a pretty fair person, typically pretty like diplomatic, typically says things that people like she's fine. She's fine. I don't need to correct or fix or change everybody's opinion about me, you know? And people can still like both of us at the same time. That's okay too. That's something that like we as an audience have a hard time like remembering, is that because everybody like forms these alliances and it's like you have to be team A or team B, and then like those people's friends, like you have to like either these people or those people, and then those people's friends are like, it gets to the point where you can't think in terms of poles. There's just going to be people moving around, and there are going to be some people that you like and some people that you don't, and sometimes you like two people that maybe don't get along the best or don't have the highest opinions of each other, and that's totally fine. Mm. The only thing that I heard, I'll say that wasn't true, was that somebody told me that she said, and I did tell her this in a DM, that my first live back, like a lot of comments were being deleted out of the chat, which was not true. Before we went live, with me returning, I told my new mods, not all of them are new, but I told my mods that I want lives to be very minimally moderated, very minimally. So they only review or removed a few chats where people were like calling me the C word. So like there are certain things that like if you heard this secondhand and then you say it as if it's fact, that can be harmful, especially if you are a creator with a lot more subscribers. It's a little bit precarious, but I'm fine. No worries about the side chat. I mean, I didn't know I was gonna strike a nerve with people by saying anything about somebody who said something about me. Um, you're more concerned about my mental health. Oh, I mean, it was annoying, but I'm fine. Um, Mindy says it was one guy repeatedly saying the C word. It was not mass deletion. Yeah, as far as I know, it's fine. We don't need to like justify, correct. Like I said, it doesn't matter. If people want to like us, they'll like us. If they don't want to like us, they won't. It doesn't really matter whether or not we actually did delete chats or not, because the fact of the matter is most people have made up their minds. And if you haven't made up your mind, if you are still collecting information in order to inform your decisions about something, good for you. Good for you. I think I said go for you. I think I was saying go you and good for you at the same time. So go for you. Go for you for being somebody who is like navigating all the meandering turns of twists and turns of nuance. So um Psychic Van Bitch, I don't know. I heard of the bad news about Peter and the accident he was in, and that's it. I don't know much beyond that. Like I said, I haven't been keeping up with Gruel. I haven't been keeping up with YouTubers as much. Take luck. And that's Brian Regan. That's a good reference there. Janie came back to make up their mind, but you're just so damn charming that I was thinking about it for like 6 seconds. Stop it! You said you were coming here to flirt with us, and now you're doing it to me. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. That's so cute. I'm happy to like end on that note. Gruel. I had my own gruel moment. There you go. And guess what? My sobriety date is October 3rd, Mean Girls Day. All right, guys. I do have to pee. I have other things to do. But good conversation, like really interesting analyses. So thank you for having this chat with me. And we'll see what we'll talk about next week, and then the week after that, maybe perhaps we'll do a week of Euphoria. All right. All right. Love you. Bye.